Imagine paying double the price of a standard truck for a vehicle that looked exactly like its cheaper neighbor. Back in the late 50s, most people thought buying one of these was a fast way to lose your mind and your savings. But for a few select drivers in the north, this wasn't just a pickup. It was a ghost in the machine of the automotive world. These rare 4x4s were hidden behind a different nameplate, sold only in one country, and carried a secret that most truck enthusiasts are still trying to uncover today. What looked like a simple workhorse was actually one of the most expensive and elusive gambles in Ford's entire history. To understand why this truck cost a small fortune, you have to look at the strange map of Canadian dealerships in the mid-20th century. Back then, Ford and Mercury were separate worlds, and if your small town only had a Mercury dealer, you were technically out of luck for a Ford truck. To fix this, Ford essentially slapped a Mercury badge on their F-Series pickups, creating a brand identity that felt more like a luxury upgrade than a utility vehicle. This wasn't just a simple rebranding, it was a clever legal loophole to ensure every farmer in the north had access to a truck, regardless of which dealership was down the road. This gave the Mercury trucks a certain panache that the standard Ford models simply couldn't touch. Of course, this exclusive Canadian branding would eventually lead to these trucks becoming some of the rarest collectibles on the planet. Back in the early 60s, the average 3-4-ton pickup would set you back about $2,000, which was no small sum for a working family. But if you wanted the heavy-duty Mercury version, that price tag suddenly skyrocketed to an eye-watering $4,000. To put that in perspective, you were essentially paying the price of 2 standard trucks just to own one specialized machine. Friends and neighbors legitimately thought anyone placing that order had lost their mind, unable to see the value in such a massive financial gamble. It wasn't just about the badge on the hood, it was about paying a premium for a level of capability that most people didn't even know existed yet. This massive price gap turned these trucks into an immediate status symbol for those who knew exactly what they were looking at. In the late 50s and early 60s, finding a 4-wheel drive on a dealership lot was practically impossible. You couldn't just walk into a showroom and point to a truck in the corner. If you wanted a real machine, it had to be a custom factory order. This made the Mercury 404 a complete ghost on the road, a vehicle so rare that most drivers had never even seen one in person. Because these weren't mass-produced for the general public, they became the ultimate if-you-know vehicle for serious off-roaders. This lack of availability created a mystery around the truck that only added to its legendary status among those who needed a true workhorse. It was a specialized tool for a specific kind of driver who wasn't afraid to wait months for a machine that could go anywhere. The Mercury nameplate carried a certain level of prestige that a standard Ford badge just couldn't match. In the minds of many buyers, if a Mercury car was considered superior to a Ford, then a Mercury truck must have been built to a higher standard too. This created a unique superiority complex around the brand, giving these pickups a level of panache and cachet that made them stand out in any small-town parking lot. Owners felt they weren't just driving a utility vehicle, they were piloting a refined machine with a bit more soul and a lot more style. Even though the mechanical parts were nearly identical, that silver Mercury lettering on the hood changed the entire perception of the truck. It turned a simple piece of farm equipment into a statement of quality that commanded respect from every passerby. The clock finally ran out on this unique Canadian experiment in March of 1968. As new trade agreements like the Auto Pact began to streamline production across North America, the need for a separate Canada-only truck brand simply vanished. Production lines were halted, and the Mercury badged pickup was wiped from the catalogs almost overnight, making the existing models instant relics. This sudden disappearance turned every remaining truck into a ticking clock of rarity, as no more would ever roll off the assembly line. For those who owned one, they were suddenly driving a piece of history that could never be replaced. This deadline ensured that the Mercury truck would forever remain a limited edition ghost of the northern highways. When a tip surfaced about a rare red Highboy sitting out in the fields of Saskatchewan, it felt like chasing a legend. These specific models are famous among collectors for their towering stance, but finding one with a Mercury badge was like finding a needle in a haystack. The most fascinating part of this discovery was the mechanical secret hidden beneath the surface. The 1966 and 1967 models were identical under the hood, but their bodies were worlds apart. In 1967, Ford introduced a completely new design that many enthusiasts still consider the pinnacle of truck aesthetics, yet the rugged internal components remained frozen in time. This specific truck had been worked on, then abandoned, waiting for someone to recognize that its mismatched parts were actually a masterpiece of transition. Securing a carrier to bring it across the provinces was the only way to save a vehicle that most people had forgotten even existed. For Canadians, Mercury is a symbol of local toughness. But for Americans, this truck is a fascinating mystery. Every time one crosses the border south, it immediately attracts attention. Its boulder grille and extra chrome details make it look like the rarely seen cool cousin from the north. Although mechanically identical to the Ford, the Mercury badge carries a certain prestige. Production ceased in the late 1960s, making it a rare item now sought after by collectors across North America. Mercury trucks proves that sometimes a subtle difference in logos can create an unforgettable national identity, a Canadian legend that will forever be etched in the memories of American automotive enthusiasts.